Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So after the day of reckoning, what now? What's next when it comes to these heavyweight fighters? Now there's a lot of people out here that have opinions on what direction a lot of these fighters are going to go. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea. No one does. But I want to make sure that I mention this to everybody who's watching this video. Is do not rule out Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fighting next, okay? Because they already signed contracts. Now, of course, my understanding is they both needed to win. However, let's be real. Let's be real, right? Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, if that fight was to get announced, how would that make you feel? Okay? Now, if Anthony Joshua against Filip Hrgovic got announced, how would that make you feel? I don't care what you say. I still think Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua, I still think there's a lot of, that still creates a whole lot of buzz. But what you're running into with Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua, with Wilder coming off of a loss, is, like I said in the live yesterday, it's kind of like Zab Judah when he fought Carlos Baldomir. He lost to Carlos Baldomir, and he had signed a contract to fight Floyd Mayweather that would have paid him $5 million. But because he lost, Zab was still the guy Floyd wanted to fight. That still created a huge buzz. You saw that event. No one cared that Zab lost his last fight. The commentators brought it up, but nobody cared. They're like, that's the fight we want to see. Zab's $5 million payday was cut to, I think, $1 million, something like that. And Zab and Floyd got it on. And you saw in Zab's performance against Floyd, right, was a stark contrast in what he did against Baldomir. Zab hurt Floyd, and some would say he almost had Floyd out of there. Now, I think that's a little extreme, but he buzzed the shit out of Floyd, and he looked good in the first 4 rounds. But as Floyd would describe Zab Judah, he's a front runner. And then we saw what happened. Floyd just started to be Floyd and started to dissect him, and was on his way to tranquilizing Zab Judah, and then all hell broke loose. Long story short, Zab lost. But what I'm getting at is, just because a fighter takes a loss doesn't mean they can't go into a huge fight. And with Deontay Wilder's name and his profile, I think Deontay Wilder can still go into the AJ fight next. Eddie Hearn's not stupid. He understands some people would look at it, some would ridicule the fight, but he also knows there's still a big money fight for AJ. And it's probably bigger money for AJ than it is for AJ to fight Hrgovic. But at the end of the day, if Wilder's going to get in there and not punch and just go and do a 360, that's not going to work. You can't, whatever Wilder was doing yesterday, Malik Scott, I blame Malik Scott, I really do. That just can't work against AJ. AJ, this isn't even Anthony Joshua right now. What we saw was Big Femi. And you better believe Big Femi is going to come in there against Wilder with a lot of confidence. And Big Femi has big power. And if Wilder's going to sit there and think he can just go straight back on the ropes, he's going to get badly hurt. Badly hurt. It's going to be a vicious knockout. And I'm not a bandwagonist. I've always said in all my videos, I think Joshua should have never ever lost a fight. He's that skilled, he's that powerful. But he didn't have it here. But if Ben Davison has been able to make a few tweaks to Joshua's mentality, the psychology when it comes to boxing, then Joshua's going to be a problem. But if Deontay Wilder goes straight back, that's his defense. These days, arm straight out, lean straight back. If that's Deontay Wilder's defense under Malik Scott, Joshua will catch him because his arms are just as long as Wilder's. That was the problem he had against Tyson Fury. But that being said, I still think that's a very good win for AJ. Clip Wilder, and now he can say to Fury, okay, I beat Wallen, who some would say you lost against, and I came in there and tranquilized Wilder, who some would say you lost against. Although the second fights, people, Fury beat him, but a lot of people feel that there was a foul play in the second and third fights. I personally do. But at the end of the day, Fury got those wins. But that's a feather in Joshua's cap. It's the same thing when I was talking about Terrence Crawford. Just fight Earl Spence. Fight Keith Thurman. Knock Keith Thurman out. So now when him and Spence were doing this negotiating, right? Spence had already beat Porter and Danny Garcia. Crawford beat Porter. But he didn't fight Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman. I was like, he should have fought Keith Thurman. Beat Keith Thurman. So now when they were, that negotiation crap that was going on and they couldn't seem to come to an agreement, he could have been like, hold your horses there, Spence. Let's not take it to the stupid. You beat two of the top guys. I beat two of the top guys. Okay? So now all this back and forth crap stops. And because I'm telling you right now, that's going to be the roadblock to AJ and Fury. If Fury can get past Usyk, that is going to be the roadblock. Because if you listen to Fury, right? Fury feels, and you can kind of say rightfully so, that he is the upper echelon. He is the cherry on top. And he just feels like no one's knocked him off, right? And don't get me wrong. Doesn't matter what I think about him cheating. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. The bottom line is Fury has done the business, and he is the man in the heavyweight division, right? I got to be fair, right? We can talk and have a conversation all day about, the little intricacies behind Fury and the secret society. But bottom line is he's at the top of the heavyweight division. But I'm telling you, he's not going to be okay with no 50-50 split. He's going to make it complicated, and then people are going to say Fury's putting duck sauce on the fried rice because AJ has fixed his psychology, and now AJ is back to being Big Femi, and Fury knows he can get knocked out by Big Femi. All I know is that AJ needs to do something, and hopefully Eddie Hearn's smart enough to say, you know what, let's get Wilder. Based on Wilder's performance, you should be able to get him out of there in 2 rounds. Wilder is on this ayahuasca stuff, man. Wilder is out here living the hippie life right now. And it hurts my heart to say that, you know what I'm saying? But that's probably how he's always been, man. Just a free-spirited guy. He's come across a whole lot of money. His family is good. His daughter, all his kids, he think he has 9 kids. Wilder's good. So you could see that he's like, man, I'm not worried about anything. From where I came from to where I am now, it's all a blessing. You'll never see me down or stressed. And I get it. But I'm curious to know a little, I've done some research on it, but I'm just like, man, what the hell did he get his hands on to have this man feeling the way he is? But I'll tell you what, if he's going to come in there being all hippie-ish and super giddy, if they make the Joshua Wilder fight, that's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think if he carries Malik Scott into that fight, I just don't think that works. Malik Scott has proven to me that he doesn't have the backbone to tell Deontay Wilder, hey, look, brother, friend, teammate, subordinate, trainee, you're effing up. You will lose. And he should have given him that probably, I'd say after the second round. He said, all right, first 2 rounds you gave away. You got to do something now. And I think Malik Scott has handicapped Deontay Wilder. And I read a lot of the comments. People out there telling me, oh, you're delusional hood champion. You don't know nothing about boxing. Screw you. Right? All right, I get it. You guys have Tyson Fury's, nuts in your mouth. I understand. What I will say is, right, Deontay Wilder has basic fundamentals. I don't care what you say. You don't get to the point to where Deontay Wilder's reached with him not having any fundamentals. He only got to where he's at because of his right hand. Okay, well, De La Hoya only got to where he was because of his left hook. Right? Vladimir Klitschko only got to where he was because of his right hand. Vitaly only got to where he was because of his right hand. Right? Miguel Cotto only got to where he was because of his left hook. Right? So let's hold our horses. Because if we're going to sit there and apply that logic to Wilder, we can apply it to every single boxer today. Because they all have strengths, they all have weaknesses, and that's why game plans are devised, and that's why there's film study that's performed. Because every fighter has a weakness. And even if you feel there's not much of a weakness, whenever a fighter lets his shots go, he's exposed for a counterpunch. All right? Simple. I'm not making this up. You don't even have to be somebody who's gotten in the ring to know that. If you follow boxing, you should know that. Matter of fact, stand up with your defense. You're pretty protected. Put your arm out. Look at all this shit that's exposed, okay? That's your jab. So timing is everything. Being active is everything in boxing, okay? So for Deontay Wilder and going forward, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's try to understand this. Usyk and Fury is coming up, okay? That's a huge fight for an undisputed distinction. There's going to be a rematch, is my understanding, okay? Well, that's in the contract. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But just trying to understand that fight, Fury, Usyk, who wins. I'm going to tell you, man, I don't know what Fury has left in him. Because understand this, the same way Tyson Fury took a pound of flesh out of Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder took a pound of flesh out of Tyson Fury. You gotta listen to the comments Fury made after that third Wilder fight. Thought about not boxing no more. Months after that, he was hurt. He wasn't the same. The Wilder fights took a lot out of Tyson Fury. A lot. Now, if you pay attention in that fight, Fury was getting hurt consistently through that fight, especially towards the end of the rounds. And it's obviously showing up now. Now, true indeed, he didn't look to be in the best of shape, but he always looks like a sack of mashed potatoes. So for anyone out here talking about Fury's physique and he looks a little bit soft, when have you ever seen Tyson Fury come out there looking like Hood Champion? When have you ever seen him coming out there streamlined physique and ready for the runway? No, he's ready for the goddamn buffet line. All right? But what I will tell you is, let's take it back a little bit to those Wilder fights. Look at how he came in there. Look at his stamina. Look at his punch resistance. Look at his punching power. I personally think, Usman Sajjad had a lot to do with Tyson Fury and his conditioning and his overall display of offense in those Wilder fights. And I don't think Usman Sajjad was in his corner for the Francis Ngannou fight, because Tyson Fury approached Francis Ngannou like Floyd Mayweather approached Conor McGregor. Took him lightly. Conor had, some good moments, but ultimately he gassed out, and Floyd was able to tranquilize him. The problem Tyson Fury ran into is because he got in there thinking he would just step into a mashup, crash up with Ngannou and hit him, or Ngannou wouldn't know what to do in a boxing match. And Ngannou, he had Mike Tyson train him, and he had the secret sauce. And Ngannou obviously had some experience. I do think a little bit of secret society was involved in that fight, but I'm not going to get into that. I'll just keep it as what we saw. Ngannou was able to counter the big man. And after that, Fury just didn't seem to be the same. But he was outworking Ngannou, and I said most of the rounds. But the problem is when Ngannou would let his hands go, Tyson Fury didn't want no parts of that after Tyson Fury got countered and knocked down. So that being said, Tyson Fury going into the Usyk fight, there's some people feel that Tyson Fury does not stand a chance. Those same people felt Tyson Fury didn't stand a chance before he faced Ngannou. They felt like him against Usyk is just a bad matchup stylistically. Now, in my opinion, I think Tyson Fury versus Usyk, I think this Tyson Fury that's going to face Usyk is not going to be the same guy that faced Ngannou. I think what they're going to get in this Tyson Fury is the guy who faced Deontay Wilder. And he may see a little bit of the Fury in the first Wilder fight and the Fury in the second and third Wilder fight combined. It's going to be a combined approach, a combined strategy, because that's what's going to be needed against the Rabbit, Alexander, balls on his chest, Usyk, right? Mr. Irritable Bowel Syndrome. Because when Usyk gets into Tyson Fury, he's not going to be a stationary target. For the most part, Deontay Wilder was a stationary target. Derek Chisora was a stationary target. Dillian White was a stationary target. Francis Ngannou was more elusive than those three. So I can't say he was a stationary target. He was more elusive, right? And this is something that we got to be honest about. He was more elusive than Wilder, Chisora, and Dillian White. And as a result, Francis Ngannou had some success. But you got to take into the fact that that Tyson Fury didn't seem to be in the best of shape too. So now imagine the little bit of elusiveness possessed by Ngannou. Now you take Usyk, who's leaps and bounds more elusive than any other heavyweight right now. What the hell is Tyson Fury going to do? Because Usyk can punch while he's moving. He uses those awkward angles. He'll get underneath your shot and just step into your chest, don't throw any punches, then roll back out. He does stuff just to break you down mentally. What's going to happen in that fight? I'm telling you, I used to think Tyson Fury was too big, too strong, could just use his reach, stay on the outside, box him, jab him, throw the right hand on occasion, wrap him up, and just win the fight easily. But I'm starting not to know what direction the fight's going to go. But what I will tell you is, if Tyson Fury was to win the first fight, and if the rematch, whether the rematch happens or not, once their little, once their competition ends, the Fury-Usyk competition, once it's over, if Fury ends up being the victor and he says, I'm retiring, and he drops the belts, or he just drops the belts and keeps fighting, all those belts become available. You got a whole bunch of guys here who are looking to see, looking to seek an opportunity. Now, just look at what you got right here. Right? Let me make this a little bit smaller for you. You got Usyk and Fury. Well, we already know the direction they're going. You got Joshua, who right now could be facing Wilder next. If not, could be Flip Hrgovic, who just got a win yesterday. But I'm going to tell you right now, Flip Hrgovic and his performance yesterday was the same thing as Wilder against Helenius. So just what kind of work did Flip Hrgovic get? So Flip Hrgovic's at a disadvantage, in my opinion, going in against AJ because he's been inactive. He's just like Wilder, came in, got one round, no competition, and now he's going to go inactive for another few months if he fights Joshua. And now he's going to go into that fight where Joshua's been extremely active. So for me, for that reason, and Joshua's newfound confidence and Ben Davison being a great trainer, I favor Joshua to clip Hrgovic if that fight happens, and then I favor Joshua to clip Wilder, and because of the things that I mentioned. So Joshua's in a good space no matter what direction he goes. But I will say, Flip Hrgovic is not Otto Wallin, and Otto Wallin, who lost yesterday, is a great fighter. But what I mean by saying Hrgovic's not Otto Wallin, I am not at all trying to discredit Otto Wallin. What I'm telling you is Hrgovic is a much more powerful fighter. AJ can't afford to get hit with none of those crazy cluster bombs. If he does, AJ's ass could be in trouble. So that's going to be a very, very interesting fight. Okay? Now Wilder, we don't know what he's going to do. I think he's going to be back out there in the bush, somewhere out there in the jungle, sipping on that devil's tea, getting high, hallucinogens, seeing different things, and Malik's got to be right there. They'd probably be running around butt naked, going crazy. I just don't like that union that they have. I respect it as friends, as the brotherhood they claim they have, but I don't like Malik Scott as his trainer. Malik Scott, to me, should be on the sideline just being a cheerleader, like Ellie Sekback, and let a real trainer who can come in and tell Deontay Wilder, look, shut up and listen. You're failing the test. That's who should be there with Wilder. Because Wilder has shown us over the years, he has too much natural abilities and just natural advantages over these heavyweights for him to come in there and perform the way he did yesterday. So a lot of people are saying it's Deontay Wilder's fault. He's the guy in the ring fighting. I still blame Malik Scott. Screw you, Malik Scott. And you got Zhilei Zhang. Now, nobody seems to be talking about the big China man who's out here just stir-frying these guys, man. Zhilei Zhang is a problem. And I understand some people saying, well, he just fought a stationary target when he fought Joe Joyce. Zhilei Zhang has no talent. All he has is the left hand. Hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid. Zhilei Zhang, you see ain't nobody calling him out. Zhilei Zhang beats all of these guys. Matter of fact, he's the WBO interim world heavyweight champion. So Flip Hrgovic, Zhilei Zhang, those guys are in line to get a crack at the winner of Usyk and Fury whenever they settle their competition. But I'm telling you right now, Zhilei Zhang needs to be fighting. And nobody wants to fight him. Nobody. The only person who wants to fight Zhilei Zhang is Derek Chisora. And a matter of fact, if you didn't know, Derek Chisora he plans 3 more fights, and then he's going to retire. And he's over there begging and pleading with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, right? Begging and pleading for him to make him the kind of offer that he's okay with so he can come over there and fight. Now, Derek Chisora is just looking for probably like 3, 4, 5 million. I'm going to tell you this right now. Derek Chisora, in my opinion, should retire right now, but I don't know about him getting that kind of money. But who knows when you're talking about Saudi and Derek Chisora and the position he holds and the influence he has on boxing in Saudi Arabia. But nonetheless, Derek Chisora wants to fight Zhilei Zhang. If they make that fight, I think I'm not even trying to be funny. I think Zhang puts him in the hospital, and I'm not playing. He just too big, too strong. Still, just the power, the speed. That's just a horrible fight. They shouldn't do it. I just think for Chisora's health, they shouldn't do it. Now Joseph Parker's in an interesting position. He got a win yesterday over Wilder. Parker didn't do anything spectacular to me. Wilder's inactivity and not wanting to punch. As a result, it gave Parker the opportunities to touch him up. We just saw a fight where there was somebody not punching. What fight was that we just watched? There was a guy in the ring and not letting his hands go. I can't remember. It wasn't Ryan Garcia's fight. It wasn't Devin Haney's fight. I can't remember what fight it was. We just watched it, and the guys in the ring, one of them, he just wasn't punching, and he just getting hit over and over and over and over and over. I can't remember, man, but I just saw it a couple weeks ago. But anyway, with Joseph Parker, I think Joseph Parker, he's calling out the big boys because he wants the big money. And remember, Joseph Parker, I believe, right, this is just a conversation, my opinion, I believe Joseph Parker is connected to that secret society. I do. I believe he's connected to the secret society. I think he's protected. I believe he's involved with people who are going to make sure that he gets big fights. And you may say, okay, well, why are you saying that about Parker? You've always spoke very positively about him. I still think him as, the family man and everything, I think he's an outstanding human being. But I just don't have enough information for me to change my opinion on Joseph Parker and his involvement with the secret society, because once I realized that he may have been involved with some of the same people Tyson Fury was involved with to help Tyson Fury get to his position in the heavyweight division, and knowing that he was working with the same resources and the same conveniences that Tyson Fury had and his 3 fights going into Deontay Wilder, it just makes me feel like there may be a little bit more to Parker that we don't know about. And for Parker going forward, I'm not so sure if Parker gets another, outstanding victory, especially against somebody who's going to fight back. So Parker against Kabayel, I think that's a great fight for both of them. But some would say Parker's a league above Kabayel. But I'm just telling you, if Parker's not going to fight, he's not going to fight Fury. He's not going to fight Usyk. AJ doesn't want nothing to do with him. Parker may end up having to fight Frank Sanchez or Zhilei Zhang or Kabayel. Now, you think about Parker against Frank Sanchez. I think Frank Sanchez knocks him out. It will be a good fight, but Frank Sanchez will move around. He has the speed. He pivots. Frank Sanchez was doing some great stuff in there yesterday. I know if you were watching his footwork and how he was changing angles and shifting and the stuff he was doing was absolutely amazing. And every time he was shifting, how he was getting his combinations off, man, throwing that uppercut, hook, spinning, then throwing the 1-2. It was just amazing to watch Frank Sanchez's footwork. But again, he had Junior Fa in front of him, who's a fighter kind of similar to Parker. And I just think Frank Sanchez will beat Parker. But then again, we don't know until they get in the ring. Parker against Kabayel, I don't know. Kabayel's a smart boxer. And if Makhmudov wasn't able to get the big shots off on him, although they were telegraphed, I don't know what direction to go against Parker. I think it'll be more competitive. But again, Parker against Kabayel is an interesting fight. I think it's a 50-50. And Parker against Zhang, I think Parker loses. Simple. I think Parker gets knocked out cold. I don't think he can beat Zhang. But again, it just depends on Parker, the resources, the conveniences that he has access to now. If he can get in there, and because he buzzed Wilder yesterday, if he can get in there and buzz Zhang and start knocking opponents out, we need to throw the bullshit flag, because that's never been Parker. All of a sudden, his career is on the downward spiral. Then somehow he's managed to be brought back from the dead. How? You got Panama Lewis in here somewhere? I thought he was dead. Somebody sipping from the black bottle? The black bottle? Yeah, the one I mixed. Give me the black bottle. Get the hell out of here. Now, Flip Hrgovic, sky's the limit for him. But you got Jared Anderson, who could potentially be a fight for Flip Hrgovic. And you say, well, damn, man, why are you saying that? Because you just got to look at where Jared Anderson is in his career and in the rankings, and look at how these other guys are busy. Flip Hrgovic may not get the fight he wants immediately, so he has to stay active. So a young up-and-comer like Anderson would be a good fight. But then again, I don't really know if Bob Arum would want to put Anderson in with a guy like Hrgovic. But if he was, I think he should do it now, because Hrgovic's been inactive. He only had one round yesterday, and I think he's there. I'm not saying for the pickings, but he's there, and I think this would be the best opportunity for a young, hungry Jared Anderson. Joe Joyce, not so sure what he's going to do. He got in there. Zhilei Zhang took a pound of flesh out of him across those two fights. I think Joe Joyce's punch resistance may be a bit gone now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Joe Joyce, although he only has 17 fights, 15 wins, 2 losses, across all 17 of those fights, in every fight he took significant damage, because that's his style of fighting. Come straight forward, take all your shots, discourage you, beat you down. And I just think it caught up with him. I think Joyce's career is over, and that's my opinion. Too much damage, pound of flesh taken out of him. He's not the same. Frank Sanchez, sky's the limit. He just needs to stay active and get fights. I think Frank Sanchez gives all these guys hell with his speed. The problem is when he gets in with these bigger guys, if he's going to be looking to box and punch and move around, he could get behind the scorecards because of his inactivity. Otto Wallen, I don't know what's next for him. He lost to AJ, so, it's not bad losing to Joshua. Joshua's elite. So you just have a great fighter who fought an elite fighter, and that's kind of how it goes. But for Wallen, he lost. Wallen against Wilder could be a good fight. Hrgovic needs to stay busy. I don't know if Wallen will get an opportunity, because then it means if he beats Hrgovic, he becomes a mandatory to the IBF. So I really don't know what Wallen's going to do next, but I would think he'd want to face somebody who lost. Maybe he'll fight Makhmudov. Or maybe Jared Anderson would fight him. That's a good stepping stone for Jared Anderson. But when you come down here and take a look under the WBO, you look under the IBF, WBC, and WBA, you can kind of see the rack and stack now, all right? So under the WBO, Zhilei Zhang is the interim, so he's definitely in line for a shot at the WBO World Heavyweight Championship, which he'll have to wait a couple fights to see if he can get in line, because Usyk and Fury's got a couple fights, and then Hrgovic, if Hrgovic remains the mandatory for the IBF, then it'll be Hrgovic next, and then they'll be looking at Zhang. But after that, you got, Anthony Joshua, Jared Anderson, Joseph Parker, Frank Sanchez, Hrgovic. So the real wild card in all of this that we're talking about is Andy Ruiz. Now, Andy Ruiz wasn't able to fight yesterday. Now, Zhilei Zhang is another one, but Andy Ruiz is a proven solid competitor. A guy who gets in the ring and leaves it all in the ring. He had a shoulder surgery. He has 2 months left on his rehabilitation. Then Andy Ruiz will be cleared to fight again. But when you take a look at these names right here, imagine if Andy Ruiz would have fought Joseph Parker yesterday. How do you think that would have went? Imagine if he would have fought Wallen yesterday. How do you think that would have went? If he would have fought Frank Sanchez, how do you think that would have went? If he would have fought Deontay Wilder, how do you think that would have went? So what I'm saying is, if Andy Ruiz was fighting yesterday, even Makhmudov, Andy Ruiz had a good chance. Styles make fights, though, don't get me wrong. Andy Ruiz had a good chance to get a big victory in Saudi Arabia yesterday. But he wasn't there. But at the same time, maybe he goes to Saudi and he loses. But bottom line is Andy Ruiz returns next year. And he looks to be in a pretty good position for the WBO. Now, who's Andy Ruiz going to fight next? I don't know. He doesn't even know. But you got Daniel Dubois. That could be a good fight for Andy Ruiz. If he beats Dubois, coming off of being inactive, Dubois got a big win. Dubois he's not back necessarily. But I still don't think anyone's going to want to fight Andy Ruiz. Fabio Wardley's moving up the rankings. Look, Andy Ruiz has to understand he's not a champion no more. Maybe he goes in there and he knocks out Fabio Wardley. But Andy Ruiz is in a bad position because the upper echelon guys, he's not really there anymore. And those guys who are coming up, he doesn't really want to fight them because he doesn't feel he's a springboard for anyone. So Andy Ruiz, unless he can get his dad under control, he may go inactive even more. And that really may be the end of his damn career. Then Fabio Wardley, Daniel Dubois, Deontay Wilder, Jermaine Franklin. So out of those names, Jermaine Franklin, he may be a good fight for Fabio Wardley. I don't know, but it sounds like Jermaine Franklin's having some money problems with Demetrius Salita, according to Gerald Big Baby Miller. So we just don't know what direction things are going to go. Then you come over to the IBF. Again, Hrgovic's number 1. Then you got Wallen at 2, who I'm sure is going to drop down. Matter of fact, he did. Joshua's number 2 now. I don't know how far Wallen dropped down, but he dropped down. Parker's 3. Anderson's holding firm. Frank Sanchez, Mahmoudov, I'm sure, has dropped down. And I don't know what's going to happen to the rack and stack in the IBF, but I know it's been shuffled. But the bottom line is you got Flip Hrgovic and AJ, the 1 and 2. So that would seem to be the sensible fight to make, but it's not a big money fight. For the WBC, Tyson Fury's the man, but Wilder was number 1. Joshua's number 2. I'm sure Wilder has dropped down. Arslanbek Makhmudov was number 3. I'm sure he's dropped down. So right now for the WBC, I think Joshua may be number 1. Frank Sanchez may be number 2. Then F.A. Jogba is going to probably be number 3. The problem is Sanchez already beat F.A. Jogba, but look at what Jared Anderson is. He's number 6. So I'm telling you, Jared Anderson is going to have to put up and fight somebody because he's getting close to cracking the top 5 in all these sanctioning bodies. Okay, he's already the number 2 in the WBO. He's already the number 5 in the IBF. Okay, he's the number 6, which I think now after yesterday he's in the top 5 in the WBC. And then you come over and take a look at what's going on in the WBA. Somehow they don't have him ranked, which I think is crazy. But the bottom line, the 3 sanctioning bodies, Jared Anderson's ranked in the top 5. He's going to have to fight a big name fighter next. No more of these cherry picks. And Francis Ngannou was ranked number 10. How about that? Francis Ngannou was ranked number 10 by the WBC. So you just never know what's going to happen, okay? And then with the WBA, Manuel Charr is holding on to a WBA World Heavyweight Championship. The Super World Championship is Usyk. Manuel Charr, I think that may be a good fight for Deontay Wilder to get in there and fight Manuel Charr. I don't think Martin Alunga will get that fight because he's ranked number 2. Deontay's ranked number 1. Then number 3 is Joshua, who probably bubbles up to the number 1 spot now. Then Makhmudov was number 4. He drops down. So now you got Lanier Perro, who probably bubbles up. Gerald Miller lost, so he drops off. Then Daniel Dubois bubbles up. So what I'm saying is Junior Fall lost. We got to wait and see what happens with these rack and stacks. But you can see that there's across all these sanctioning bodies, there's going to be some shuffling. But in my opinion, the big fights we're going to see next year, I think we're gonna see Jared Anderson in a big fight. I think Frank Sanchez is going to get a big fight. Agit Kabayel, I didn't even talk about his name. Let me show y'all something. Agit Kabayel was ranked number 13 in the WBO, number 12 in the IBF, number 13 in the WBC, and he was not ranked in the WBA. Excuse me, but the way he beat Arslanbek Makhmudov, now just look at this. This is how crazy it is, right? So Kabayel and Makhmudov were 13 and 14 in the WBO. Okay? Makhmudov lost. Kabayel was number 12 in the IBF. Makhmudov was number 7. So you think Kabayel would bubble up to that spot. Kabayel was number 13 in the WBC. Makhmudov was number 3. And then Kabayel's not ranked in the WBA. So Kabayel and Jared Anderson could be the fight to be made. Because Kabayel's going to bubble all the way up now. You understand? So all I'm saying is we're seeing a transition happen. Some of these big names that we know of, man, I think next year, at the end of next year, they're going to start falling off. So appreciate these guys while you can. It's absolutely interesting what's going on. Still not sure what's going on with Dillian White. Why this man has disappeared from the face of the planet, I don't know. I still think you got Bakodir Jalilov, who's in the mix. F.A. Jogba's still in the mix. Who else didn't show up over there yesterday? So we got Ruiz, F.A. Jogba, Jalilov, Jared Anderson. You got Torres out of California, but I still think he has some work to do to get into the rankings. In his last fight, he looked a little bit normal. But still, at some point in time, he's going to have to figure it out. David Adelaide wasn't out there. Fabio Wardley was not out there. Jermaine Franklin wasn't out there. So you got a good, probably like 6 to 10 heavyweight fighters who have proven themselves to be great fighters, good fighters, not necessarily elite, but they're on the cusp of greatness, on the cusp of eliteness, who may be showing up next year to fight in Saudi, where I think what they're going to do is take a lot of the losers and maybe set them aside or reshuffle them for them to fight, and then take some of these guys who weren't on the card and fill them into those gaps to face the winners. But that being said, we got to wait and see. But very, very interesting. It's still kind of hard to say what now, but one thing we do know is Fury and Usyk are going to bang. Joshua is either going to fight Wilder or Filip Hrgovic, but Eddie Hearn's not going to not mismove. He's not going to misstep. He's not going to misstep with how he moves Anthony Joshua next. It's going to be for money and for Anthony Joshua to grow his profile even more and to gain his confidence even more. And I think Joshua against Wilder, I think that's the fight to make. I know Wilder lost. I just think Joshua get that feather in his cap. I think that's great. Him fighting Hrgovic, I think that's also a great fight. And I hate to say this, I think Wilder may be the easier fight, but he's still a high risk. Because if Wilder, after this shit, he may say, you know what? I can't go and perform this way. He got himself 10, 12 rounds in yesterday. It's a little bit of activity. If he can get back in the gym and back in the ring and march, Lord have mercy. Joshua may run into a different Wilder. But then again, I don't know. If Wilder's still going to be out here doing this devil's tea, he may be in trouble. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. This is what we got here, people. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. Here's what you got for the WBO. Here's what you got for the IBF WBC. Here's what you got for the WBA. Here's what it is. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.